Здравствуйте! Hello and welcome to the Russian language class. Let us quickly revise some of the topics we learnt in the last lesson. We were doing prepositional case in the last lesson and we had learnt another preposition a, which means about. Kto changes to kom after a. So, after a we use the prepositional case. A kom is about whom. So, kom is the form of kto. The same way a chyom means about what. Chyom has been derived from the word shto. So, shto is the nominative case and chyom is the prepositional case. So, how do we answer a kom? We use an animate noun in the prepositional case. For example, a kom vi razgovarivaje છે. A kom vi razgovarivaje છે. Who are you talking about? Ya razgovarivayu a macheri. So, mach becomes macheri in the prepositional case. So, I am talking about my mother. The same way, if the question is a chyom vi razkazivaje છે. Ya razkazivayu a filme. So, I am narrating about a film or a movie. The next we have also done the personal pronouns in the prepositional case. So, what happens when we use personal pronouns in the prepositional case? That means, after certain prepositions where, na, a. So, here I have written the forms of a. So, what happens when we use personal pronoun ya with a, which means about me. Aba minye is about me, and here you have to memorize this thing, that with minye we use aba. The same way ti, which is you, becomes a chibye. On becomes a nyom. Ana a nyei. Mi, first person plural number, becomes a nas. We, second person plural number, becomes a vas. Third person plural number, which is ani, becomes a nih. Aba minye a chibye, a nyom a nyei, a nas, a vas and a nih. So, let us move on to the topics that we are going to learn today. We will start this lesson with the cardinal numbers from 21 to 100. So, how do we denote cardinal numbers from 21 to 100 in Russian? So far we have already discussed how do we denote numbers from 0 to 20 in the previous lessons. So, let us do the numbers from 21 to 100. I have written the Russian counterpart of the numbers 21. So, 21, like in English we say 20 and 1, the same way in Russian also we say 20, which is 20, and ajin. 21 is 21. So, for 21 we have 21, 22, 22, 23, 23, 24, 24, 25, 25, 26, 26, 27, 27, 28, 28, 29, 29, and then comes 30, which is 30. 30 is 30. The same way, how will we say 31 in Russian? 31, 32, and so on. So, let us come to 40. So, how do we denote 40? How do we say 40 in Russian? We have already discussed the interrogative word shto, which means what, and I have to tell you that shto is also used as a conjunction. What do you understand by the word conjunction? Conjunction is used to combine either two words or two sentences. So, what happens when shto is used as a conjunction? It can mean either what, which is its usual meaning, or it can mean that also. So, let us see the meanings of что as conjunction. Okay, I have written here two sentences. Let's take the first sentence. Я знаю, что ты пишешь. Я знаю, что ты пишешь. I know what are you writing. So here in this sentence, this что means what. Я знаю, что ты пишешь. Let's come to the second sentence, which is я знаю, что он хорошо говорит по-русски. Я знаю, что он хорошо говорит по-русски. I know that he speaks Russian well. Я знаю, что он хорошо говорит по-русски. So here in this sentence, the что, which is a conjunction, means that. So it can mean what and it can mean that depending on the context. So this is что, which is an interrogative word. It can also be used as a conjunction and it can mean either what or that. The next topic that we are going to discuss in this lesson is imperative mood of verbs. So how do we denote the imperative mood of verbs in Russian? First, let me tell you what does the imperative mood of verb mean. The imperative mood of verbs denote request, command or order. So in order to express a request, command or an order, we use imperative mood of verbs. In Russian, there are two forms of imperative mood. The first form is informal or we can say familiar and is used to address person which is addressed as ты, which is you. And the second one is formal or polite. So for polite expressions or formal expressions, we will use the second form of the imperative mood. So as I have told you that there are two forms of imperative mood in Russian. So let us find out what are those. I have written three verbs here: читать, писать, говорить. Читать is to read, писать is to write and говорить is to speak. So how do we form their informal imperative mood form? Читать becomes читай. Читай is read. Писать, пиши. Писать, пиши. Write. Читать is read. Пиши, write. Говори, speak. Читай, пиши, говори. So let's come to the formal or polite form of imperative mood. Читать, читайте. Please read. Писать, пишите. Please write. Говорить, говорите. Please speak. So here you can find out that in the informal form of imperative mood, we have added the suffix the and ye, te to form its formal or polite form. So this is the difference between the informal and the formal imperative mood. Читать, there are two forms of imperative mood, читай and читайте. From писать, which is to write, пиши and пишите, говорить, говори and говорите. So now there are certain rules we use to derive the imperative mood forms of a verb. So let's discuss what are those rules and let's discuss how do we form the imperative mood of a verb. Let us find out the rules that we follow to form the informal or familiar or formal or polite form of imperative mood of a verb. So, how do we derive these two forms from a verb? So, we have certain rules that we need to follow while doing that. Generally, the imperative mood forms are derived from any form. So, first you have to find out the any form of a verb. So, the conjugation of a verb, whatever is used with any. For example, normally in any you will find either at or yat, ut or youth as the endings. So, what we do is we replace these endings with e kratke, e or a soft sign in the informal one, and we replace the ending with iche, iche or soft sign ta ye, and that is how we derive the imperative mood form of a verb. So, let us do the examples. So, I have written these three endings has to be replaced from this any form of a verb. For example, chitach. So, the first example I have taken is chitach. So, how do we conjugate chitach? Ya chitayu, ani chitayut. As I have already told you that the imperative forms are derived from the ani form. So, here I have underlined this chita. So, after removing youth, what remains is the stem of the verb. So, if the stem, which is chita here, ends with a vowel. So, here as you can see, chita ends with a vowel. So, the stem ends with a vowel. So, if that is the case, then we add e kratke to form the informal imperative mood. So, from chitach we derive chitai as the informal or familiar imperative mood, and chitaiche as the formal or polite imperative mood. Why? Because the stem of this verb ends with a vowel, chita. Chitach, chitai, chitaiche. The same way, panimach, panimach, the stem of panimach also ends with a vowel, which is a. The same way, the informal imperative mood will be panimai and formal will be panimaiche. Let us move on to the other verb. So, I have taken pisach. Pisach is to write. How do we conjugate the verb pisach? Ya pishu, ani pishut. Ya pishu, ani pishut. So, let us take the stem here. So, what is the stem? Pish. Here also pish. So, what happens if this is the case? We have to first understand where is the stress in the first person singular number form of the verb. So, here the stress is on the ending. The ending is stressed and the stem ends with a consonant sh. So, pishu and pishut. So, if that is the case, when in the first person singular number the ending is stressed and the stem ends with a consonant, we use e to form its informal imperative mood. So, from pisach we will derive pishi and the formal one will be pishiche. Pisach, pishi and pishiche. The next verb I have taken is gatovich. Gatovich is to prepare, prepare food or something else. So, what happens when we derive the imperative mood from this verb? So, how do we conjugate gatovich? Gatovich is conjugated in a similar way as we have done with gavarich, e conjugation, and ya gatovliu. Here we have added one la here. Ya gatovliu, I prepare. Ani gatovyat, ani gatovit, they prepare. So here in ani form, as you can see, gatov is the stem and yat is the ending. And here in ya form, as you can see, the stress doesn't lie or is not on the ending, but on the root gatov. So in that case, if the ending is not stressed and the stem ends with a consonant, we use soft sign to form the informal or familiar imperative mood. So gatovich will have gatov as its informal or familiar imperative form, and gatovche as its formal or polite imperative mood. So let us revise them once again. If the stem ends with a vowel, then we use e kratke to form its imperative mood, or iche, e kratke te and ye, to form its formal imperative mood. If the stem ends with a consonant like pisach and first person singular number ending is stressed, pishu, u is stressed, in that case we will use e. So we will replace ani form, which is oot, with e, and will get the informal or familiar imperative mood, which is pishi, and will add iche. Pishiche is the formal or polite form of imperative mood. The third one is when the stem ends with a consonant and the first person singular number, the ending is not stressed, like in gatovich ya gatovliu. So this u is not stressed and stress falls on the root. So in that case we will use a soft sign to form its informal or familiar imperative mood, and soft sign t and ye to form its formal or polite imperative mood. So chitach, chitai, chitaiche, pisach, pishi, pishiche, gatovich, gatov, gatovche, gavarit, gavari, gavariche, and so on. Now we will learn some verbs which have similar meaning. So I have written here vidit. Vidit is to see, and smatriet. Smatriet is to watch or to look. So these two verbs have similar meanings, to see and to look. And how do we conjugate these two verbs? I have written here, this is similar to e conjugation. E conjugation like gavarit. So ya viju, ti vidish, onana vidit, mi vidim, vi vidice, ani vidyat. So it's e conjugation. And how do we conjugate smatriet? Again we have to follow e conjugation, which is like gavarit. Ya smatriu, ti smotrish, onana smotrit, mi smotrim, vi smotrice, ani smotryat. Now the second pair of verbs is slushach and slishach. Slushach and slishach. Slushach is to listen. Slushach is to listen and slishach is to hear. And what is the difference between slushach and slishach? Slushach is voluntary action and slishach is involuntary. And how do we conjugate slushach? So it's written here, it follows the ye conjugation. So it follows the ye conjugation. And how do you understand this ye conjugation? The similar way as we have conjugated the verb chitach. Ya slushayu, ti slushayesh, onana slushayet, mi slushayem, wy слушайте, они слушают. And слышать, to conjugate слышать, we follow e conjugation. E conjugation like говорить. Я слышу, ты слышишь, она слышит, мы слышим, вы слышите, они слышат. At. Okay, let's have a look at the uses of these 4 verbs. Вы видите там что-нибудь? Вы видите там что-нибудь? Что-нибудь is anything. So, do you see anything there? Do you see anything there? Вы видите там что-нибудь? So, here we have used видеть is to see. Do you see anything there? So, here we are using видеть because the meaning is to see. Смотреть вперед. Смотреть is to look. Look ahead. To look ahead. Смотреть вперед. Вперед is ahead. So, here I have used смотреть. Why? Because the meaning is to look. The third sentence that we have is он плохо слышит. Слышать, as I have already explained, means to hear. So, how do you understand this sentence? Он плохо слышит. He is hard of hearing. He is hard of hearing. So, that is how we say that sentence in Russian. Он плохо слышит. The last one is она никого не слушает. Она никого не слушает. Никого is no one. She doesn't listen to anybody or anyone. She doesn't listen to anyone. So, here we have used слушать, which is to listen. So, the verbs видеть and смотреть and слушать and слышать are similar in meaning, but different in uses. So, they are slightly differ in their uses. So, that you have to keep in mind. So, now I will read out a dialogue. Please listen to the dialogue carefully and try to understand. Извините, это рыба? Нет, это мясо. А это рис? Нет, это салат. Сыр и майонез. Извините, а что это? Сок? Нет, это компот. А что это? Сыр? Нет, это творог. Скажите, а это рис? Да, это рис. Дайте, пожалуйста. So now I will tell you the meaning of this dialogue. Извините, извините is excuse me. Это рыба? Is it a fish? Нет, no, это мясо. This is meat. А это рис? Is this rice? Рис is rice. Нет, это салат. It's a salad. Сыр и майонез. Mayonnaise is mayonnaise and сыр is cheese. It's a salad, cheese and mayonnaise. Извините, а что это? Сок. Excuse me, and what is this? Juice. Soak is juice. Нет, это компот. No, it's compote. Compote is a juice made up of fruits. So, it's a sweet dish made up of fruits. Скажите, а это рис? Tell me, it's rice. Да, это рис. Yes, this is rice. Дайте, пожалуйста. Пожалуйста, please, give me. Give me, please. So, I will once again read the dialogue. Please listen to the dialogue carefully. Извините, это рыба? Нет, это мясо. А это рис? Нет, это салат. Сыр и майонез. Извините, а что это? сок. Нет, это компот. А что это? Сыр. Нет, это творог. Скажите, а это рис? Да, это рис. Дайте, пожалуйста. So with this we conclude the lesson. So what all we have learnt in this lesson? So we have learnt the cardinal numbers from 21 to 100. We also learnt the conjunction что, and apart from that we have learnt how to form the imperative mood of verbs in Russian. So with this we finish this lesson. Thank you, спасибо and до свидания.